Apple crushes it with $7 billion in fraud prevented. This is Mac Voices. This edition of Mac Voices is supported by the Mac Voices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from Mac Voices. Watch or listen to Mac Voices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Hey, we're back after a couple weeks that it was my fault because things kept coming up, some of them very short notice, and so we had to pull the plug a couple times, but we're back. For the moment, everything looks stable as we move ahead, and if we have any more disruptions, I will try to give you all more notice because I know how it is showing up for something and then not having us show up, so sorry about that. After that apology, this is Mac Voices Live. We are live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room. Some of our friends are there already. More are coming. And we actually have a couple of the Mac Voices Live panelists sitting out tonight, at least being online, because there are major storms in their areas. So Ben and Eric, keep your heads down, please. But throw in comments. If you can be in the chat room and have comments, please feel free. As you might expect, we have a lot to catch up on since we've been dark a couple times. So we're just going to try to keep moving things along tonight. The first thing we're going to move along, though, is the introductions. So going around the table, first up, as always, Mr. Dave Ginsburg. Dave, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chuck. My gosh, I felt like it was like a long time ago since we last had a show here. So glad to be back here. And I'm not in that storm area, but I am nearby Eric and Ben. So be safe, Eric and Ben.
Yeah, definitely. And if it heads your way, you keep your head down too.
Yes.
Mr. Brian Flanagan Arthurs is here. He told us in pre-show that he's on summer break. Brian, good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here. And I think it's been a couple weeks, even longer for me, because I had a couple work commitments, I think, on the last couple shows. So it's been far too long.
Yeah, that's right. You did too. Yeah, we're getting into that time of year when everybody's busy with all kind of things and activities and all because we aren't snowed in or hunkered down wherever we live. So,
yeah.
But the guy that is never hunkered down because of weather, Mr. Jim Ray, is here. Jim, good to have you. I'm sure that you are not experiencing the storms that some of our other friends are. I think you're muted, Jim. Maybe Jim was struck by lightning. I don't know.
I was just saying it's sunny, not a cloud in the sky.
We don't feel for you at all.
Move.
Yeah, move. Webb Bixby is here, but he had to step away momentarily, so you probably see him on your screen, but if not, he'll be back, and we'll say hello when he gets here. Mr. Jeff Gamet is here, though, and he's ready to say hello. Jeff, good to have you.
Chuck, it's great to see you. I feel like I've been going through a kind of withdrawal. I needed my check fix, so I'm glad you're back.
Listen, it's funny how, we all do a number of shows together each week, and when the schedules interrupt, it's like, well, you're missing part of the family. So I'm right there with you. I know what you mean. He has a red microphone tonight, guys. Mr. Guy Searle.
Hey, it's sort of red. It's reddish, but it's a cover. It's all a big cover up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a regular pod mic that has a cover on it. Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's also a pop filter. So it serves two purposes. It makes it really garish, and it takes away the S's and P's. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right,
but it's the garish part that obviously attracts me. Obviously.
Obviously.
I want to ask about that, and I'm really afraid too. So I'm just going to move on. Marty Gensius is here, and as you heard me earlier, I'd like to. Maybe if you weren't here for pre-show, you didn't hear me ask him for some time on his calendar.
Yeah, on the couch is what you said.
Yeah,
really.
But I was afraid what Jeff Gammon was going to do with that, so that's why I changed it, Marty. So
Jeff gets blamed for everything he does.
I know, it's the worst.
We're just going to make stuff up to blame Jeff for. That's but it's great. It's great to be here on a Tuesday night.
And
Tuesday
it'll
nights.
still be 90% accurate.
Well, easy target.
Tuesday nights are the best part of my Tuesday day. So it's good to be here.
well, thank you. Yes, that's the way I feel about my Tuesdays as well. That's really well said. I think I want the T-shirt with that on it. So, guys, a lot's happened. I'm debating as to how to do this in order. Whether we take the most recent stuff first, whether we take the oldest stuff first. There's one though that I feel like we just have to start with because I just want to hear everybody's thoughts on this. So let me grab this. See if I can get it in the chat rooms. And that it was the I'll tell you, I'll use their terms, the backlash to the Crush ad that was part of Apple's iPad announcement. Because I don't believe we talked about this. I'm still shocked at the number of people that were as offended as they seem to be. Apple took the unique step of apologizing for this. And
Shouldn't have.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
Well, look, I understand what's kind of what they were saying, but I think they were overthinking it. That's my take. So let's see, Guy, you started. What, you don't agree?
No. I think anyone who took great offense to what was a relatively obvious metaphor is looking for something to complain about and should probably get back on their meds or find some that will help them along the way a little bit better. It's ridiculous. It's like people are going out of their way to be victims these days. So just stop. Just stop. Find something real to complain about. Jeez.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of crazy myself. I mean, yeah, it's I didn't go through the literal sense of it, but come on, it was just a nice little thing to see. Hey, we're crushing it, and we crushed all this all these instruments, all these things into a nice little iPad. Why is this such a big deal? I don't get it.
All right. Let's see. Everybody wants in on this one. I love it. So let's see, Brian.
Yeah, just a couple quick thoughts. I agree with everyone's statements so far. I just wonder if a couple things, probably maybe moving forward, maybe they should have had a quick little Apple employee focus group just take a look at it and say, hey, is there anything that this could have been misinterpreted as, that type of thing. Or maybe just, I know it had a, some music played over it as the commercial, but I wonder if they could have, drowned out some of the music and had a overtone voice a little bit, kind of explaining what was going on. As silly as it may sound, but just maybe that could have cleaned up some of from the PR standpoint of it. But I love the commercial. I thought it was really neat, but I can see the other side too.
Yeah. Let's see, Marty.
I liked the commercial. I liked it when I first saw it. And then there were these complaints about it. And I thought, why? And I kind of got it. Some folks said, Apple's supposed to be an environmentally conscious company, and they're smashing all this stuff. And then having an artist in the house, I asked her to take a look at it. And she was like, well, I wish they wouldn't have smashed the piano. That she saw it as kind of took it personally as an artist that some of these things were being destroyed. I thought, okay, it's divisive. That's very cool. But when they started talking about it as Apple being dystopian, I thought, wait a minute, this is going way too far for a commercial. I saw a clip of someone saying, I fixed it for you, and they played it backwards to Sonny and Cher singing, I Got You, Babe. The original song on the commercial was "You're Everything I Need" by Sonny and Cher. So I thought it was pretty funny. If you can find that clip, it's pretty amusing, and it still gives kind of the same impact that all of these tools are within this magic iPad.
Apple still probably would have drawn fire, though, for ever crushing them in the first place, even if they did release it in reverse.
Yeah, it was
Jeff?
virtual.
Yeah, well,
I'm really surprised that so many people took the ad in the way they did, because Guy, was it you that said the metaphor is obvious?
Yeah.
Yeah, the metaphor is obvious, and I still think, however, Apple should have released an apology. But here's how I would have worded it: Dear public, we apologize. We are so sorry that we ripped off an LG commercial shot for shot and presented it as our own. We are better than that. We can come up with something more creative. Because that's what they did. There was an LG phone several years ago, and they did the whole thing with paint and musical instruments and camera lenses and just all the stuff compressed down, and in the end, it's an LG phone.
Jeff, do you think it's possible that somebody didn't even know about that? Because
No.
I don't remember that.
There's no way they didn't know about this.
Okay.
With a company that's as meticulous as Apple is, they knew the LG ad existed, and there's no way they could have coincidentally set up their shots so that they practically match what LG did. It's someone totally ripped off the LG ad.
If anybody has a link to that, let me know, and I'll put it in the show notes so that folks can compare. So it's interesting to hear that that I think all of us pretty much had the same general reaction, that we didn't get it. And the chat room is kind of saying some of the same thing. Ben said he didn't understand the backlash. Barry said he cringed when he saw it during the event, but didn't get offended. I'm a creative pro, but got the point of the ad when it was revealed the new iPad Pro at the end. Okay, good. Cletus says why. Barry says some will just choose to be offended. Rich said bit overreacting. A lot worse ads out there. So yeah, it just was. I don't know. I hate to waste even time on it here, but I feel like we almost have to, because it was very rare for Apple to apologize for anything. So for them to do this, I guess they just felt like the backlash was coming from the people that, they needed to respond to.
At least they left the video up, because it's still there, and so they didn't react that crazy.
And at least the people who were complaining didn't go out and buy a bunch of tents.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, okay, we're going to leave that one alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, going.
We're staying way away from that one. So let's see. So how about? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the link, and I know I have it here. So anyway, I will start it with this, and I'll get the link later. But there was some information that came out from Apple about how many security threats and issues that they defend against, and I thought it was very, very telling. I'm sure you all saw this, that we often talk about how many apps that Apple rejects and how many times they miss different things and all. It was kind of staggering, the number of issues that they have addressed. That I thought. I mean, does anybody else feel that way? And meanwhile, I'll find find the link. Hello.
Deafening silence.
Yes,
Very
definitely.
silent.
So I was multitasking, finding you links.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. So Jeff, I'll ask you. I mean, Yes, they're Apple's numbers and all, but did the scope of it surprise you at all?
No. Have you seen people? Do you know what people are like? I am not surprised at all. And I feel bad saying that, but I am not surprised at all.
Yeah, those are the kind of things, though, the statistics there that make me say we need to all back off a little bit on saying, how could Apple have missed this one thing in this one app?
I mean, it's all done via, you have AI looking at AI, and these little apps are being looked at through some kind of algorithm, and when on some occasion it misses something, because you cannot have people looking at every single app and every single update to existing apps and still get in time for lunch at the end of the day. So the fact that they've missed a couple of things doesn't really surprise me. And when it's brought up to them, they deal with it. And that's what a good company should do. When you've made a mistake, you own up to it and you do whatever it is that you're supposed to do in order to make things right. And that's what Apple tries to do. That's what Google tries to do. That's what all these companies with app stores try to do. And they're not going to be perfect. You almost cannot be perfect. Number one, there's all kinds of people trying to game the system. And when they get caught, then they incorporate under a different name and probably try to do it again.
Yeah, this says App Store. This was from Apple's newsroom. App Store stopped over $7 billion in potentially fraudulent transactions for 4 years. In 4 years.
Yeah.
So, that they terminated
stuff.
Yeah, they terminated close to 118,000 developer accounts, a decrease from 428,000 terminations the prior year. So that's 1 year. That somebody had to make a decision on 118,000. Well, that's just determinations. So, the size of the App Store and the task that Apple has admittedly taken on themselves is the size of it is just staggering. I don't know. It just impressed me.
That's what you get when you have the most popular mobile app platform.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it any less onerous, Jeff. I mean, yes, I agree with you.
No, it doesn't.
So I'm glad I wasn't the one that had to look at 118,000. Well, more than that, just to terminate. Because if it was down from 428,000 the prior year, so those are just terminations. Think about how many applications there were that had to be reviewed to have that many rejected.
And I seem to remember we talked about this before. I mean, either here or my show, that this happened. And I think the numbers were slightly lower than what this report is now, because this is obviously a fresh report in Apple's newsroom. So, I mean, these numbers are just staggering. I mean, how we can imagine how much fraudulent stuff is going on, and Apple's doing that good of a job of eliminating everything.
Yeah, it's not a small thing.
No, not at all.
It's not a small thing. So I'm going to bounce again. I'm going to bounce around a bit. This I think was relatively recent. And Jeff, this is one I want. Marty, I'm sorry. Before we move on, you had a comment.
Yeah, I don't want to extend this too far, but my question is this kind of information in your face EU statement by Apple saying we pretty much control and our security is set up to catch these things, but when you open it up to Joe's app service, you're looking at something that might be a lot leakier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think in general that's been their argument, that look what we're protecting you from. I think if Amazon published their numbers, they'd probably be similar, and all the credit card companies and Yeah, there's lots of bad people out there.
They never will, though.
No, and that's sort of to Marty's point. Apple's doing it for an ulterior reason that, they don't want people to take away their monopoly on app distribution.
Jim, but the thing I don't like about those arguments is that it sounds like it's a zero-sum game, and both can be true. Apple can be, Apple can be protecting you and is protecting you, and yes, they are also trying to protect their position, but it's not. It's they aren't just doing it necessarily out of the goodness of their heart either. So
I'm just saying that's the reason why Apple discloses these numbers and Amazon doesn't. There's no upside for Amazon because, the EU isn't coming after Amazon or anybody else
yet, because it seems like the EU is becoming.
I don't know. They might, but they'd have to come up with some argument that they're a monopoly.
Well, Jeff, what do you think if we got Brian on the show and he argued about Amazon's monopoly on books?
I would love that, but I would make popcorn first.
Yes, a lot of popcorn. A lot of
popcorn.
But Amazon's not preventing other people from selling books. I can go down to a bookstore and buy books, and other people can sell books, but no one else can distribute software for iOS.
I see your point, Jim. I guess it's different. It's not even different degrees of monopolistic power. Assuming you buy into the fact that any of it is monopolistic power. It's just maybe
the question is how you define a market. Is iOS a market? So, clearly for stuff you buy on Amazon, I could go to Target, I can go to Walmart, I can go to Temu, I can go to B&H Photo, etc.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, maybe we've had the discussion about how folks choose to interpret a market or define a market. So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, but I agree with you that Apple is trying to protect their business model. I hesitate to call it monopoly, but their business model. It just needs to be recognized that it's not their only thing. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.